That's why I wanted the kids to die.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
And this is We Watch Spookies.
Today's movie is Stephen King's Storm of the Century. Storm of the Century is a 1999 horror miniseries, or as Stephen King calls it, a novel for television. Directed by Craig R. Baxley, starring Tim Daly, Colm Fiore, Deborah Ferrantino, Casey Simansko, and Jeffrey DeMunn. How about synopsis?
Well, an island off of Maine is preparing itself for what is to be known as the Storm of the Century. Some of the islanders are going off to the mainland, while some are choosing to stay. The constable, who also seems to be the guy who owns the grocery store for the island, he's trying to get everything ready. He's going around the island. A mysterious guy shows up, kills a grandma, which leads to a series of events where they apprehend the criminal, who seems to use some kind of magic demonic powers, and people start dying, and the storm, as it hits, gets worse and worse. And it's a snowstorm, so you know there's going to be snow and ice everywhere, until he finally escapes and terrorizes the island for another day. Give me what I want and I'll leave. Until the end, whenever he does tell them what he wants, and it's a child, and it's just a whole mess. Stuff's happening all over the place. People flying in the sky.
Yeah. That was a little weird, flying in the sky. It actually has one other description as well. It says on the cover of it's not actually a book, because there was no book, but they did publish the screenplay as if it was a book, and on the cover of that it says an ABC television event. So it's an event also.
All right, so there's no book.
There's no book.
So he wrote this.
He wrote this for this, yes.
All right.
Because they had made ABC, along with Stephen King had worked with ABC, and they had made the TV movie version of The Shining and the miniseries version of The Stand, and first the miniseries of It. And so and those had been fairly successful, and so then they came to him and they said, well, what do you want to do now? Meaning, which one of your books do you want to do now? And he had been thinking about this story, and also just in general about the similarities between television and miniseries in particular and books. And as far as he knew, at least, nobody had ever really done a miniseries that was just that was actually popular. Because even from the beginning, the early I don't guess Roots was a book, although it might have been. But Rich Man, Poor Man, which was one of the main ones that was the early ABC ones that kind of started everything, that was a book, and there were several others. And so he got this idea well, what if I just write it just straight out and not adapt one of the other books? Because it would also be interesting that most of the time when you adapt something from a book, people either like it or don't like it for often the same reasons, depending on who they are. That it wasn't the same as the book, or that there was this part in the book and it wasn't in the movie or the show, and that is either good or bad, depending on whether you liked that part of the book or whether you liked the book at all. And so sometimes people think The Thing is better than the book, and so he thought, well, if there's nothing existing for it before, if it's completely original, then nobody can complain that it wasn't like the book because there's no book.
Yep.
So so he was really interested in the idea, and he had suggested it to some other network several years earlier. Not this story, but the idea of doing a novel for television, as he calls it. And they had said, what are you talking about? Like, you've got all these books, like we can just adapt one of those. And so it didn't really go anywhere. And so he came to this when he had the idea and was going to tell ABC that he wanted to do this. He expected to be able to have to fight with them and to argue for it. And he said, what if I just write a thing and we just do it and it's not based on the book? And they said, all right. And so he did, and they did. And so it's now not the only one of these, because there's also Kingdom Hospital, Rose Red. I think there's at least one other one that were Stephen King miniseries that weren't based on anything prior. But this was the first one that sort of made it possible. Now, if it had failed terribly, then it wouldn't have, but it didn't. It was fairly well liked, and it was about 20 million people, according to the ratings, watched each of the episodes. Although there's a weirdness in that where they say that 19.4 million people watched the first part, 18.9 million people watched the second part, and then 19.2 million people watched the third part, because it was split into 3 parts over 3 nights. And so what happened to those people that didn't watch the second one but watched the first and last one?
Yeah.
Because I understand, like, 0.2 million people watched the first episode and were like, nah, and so they didn't watch any of the rest of it. But where did we lose like 500,000 people and then get back most of those for the last episode? It doesn't make any sense at all. Now, something that's interesting about this, I don't know if it's directly trying to be that or not, but the opening of this is very similar to the opening of Alan Wake, in which Alan, in his narration, the way that this guy is narrating, actually mentions a Stephen King quote, which is actually not from one of the fiction books. It's from one of his books about writing. But it's so similar that I didn't know, and I still don't know, if Remedy was basing that opening of Alan Wake on, like, let's actually make it like a Stephen King TV thing, because Alan Wake is sort of premised on it split up into episodes. It was supposed to be kind of like a TV season, the first game was, and then there was supposed to be another game that was the next season, and it's a continuing story, but it's broken up as if it's a TV show, or maybe a miniseries or a limited series, I guess, since there's not that much of it. But it's so similar because it's like flying over water in this like coastal place, and he's narrating about how he didn't know these things, and then something happened and now he knows these things, and it's so close that it seems like almost this was the basis for the opening of Alan Wake. And because there's the Stephen King connection already, then it makes it even stronger. Although the Stephen King quote that Alan gives is sort of against some of the things that happen in this, because he talks about how things are scarier when there's no answer, like there can't be an answer and there shouldn't be one, and I guess we don't really know who this guy is, but there's a lot more answer than sometimes there are in Stephen King stories as to what the weirdness thing is, because like, I've been around for time, and I did this thing back in the 1600s, and I'm actually old, even though I don't look like it, except when I wave my cane in front of me and show you.
Yeah, I think that kind of hurt the story a little bit. Is they gave us like all of this. I'm gonna say Bible talk, because like that's what they do. Is like
not till the end.
I
guess it's kind of scattered in there. There's the what is it? Punishments from God, like extreme weather event VHS series that the TV commercial is selling.
Like there's all this little stuff that's sprinkled through it, and then toward, like, I guess you'd say, like, at the end of the second part, and then the third part, they kind of throw, like, Bible verses around or stuff, and, like, Bible stories, like the story of
the constable
Job.
guy is like jousting with the reverend about who knows more about the Bible, kind of.
There's just really something about you that pisses me off, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, the Job thing, that's
that.
bananas.
That
because
was crazy.
He says but there's a part of the Job story that's never been written down, and it's like, okay, what is happening here? And then he makes up this whole thing about how Job said, "Screw you, God." But
but God, why me? And God was like, because there's just something about you that pisses me off. And I'm like, what? Did he? All right.
I mean, it might as well be like the Job story it could be that it's supposed to be testing the faith or whatever, but it goes on a very long time and some very extreme things happen. So it kind of seems like, well, never mind his faith, like, leave him alone. Why are you making so many bad things happen to Job?
Well, and so we get the scene. They're going to pick up some toys for the kids because they don't want the kids to be stir crazy. We're going to stop by the daycare, get some toys. And he looks at these blocks, and for some reason he spells Legion out, and he's like, "Yeah, there's the story of Jesus
story,
taking the demons out of this one dude and putting them on pigs and throwing them in." It's like, okay, so we're getting a similarity here. Maybe that's who this is kind of supposed to be. It's like, all right, we're dealing with a demon in the shape of a human. And then it's just like, nah, it's like some really mean wizard dude.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
When we see him full out the first time when he escapes from jail, then all of a sudden he's a wizard-looking guy. He's got a robe and his like cane thing is like his staff. And
he doesn't walk with it because it's still a cane, but he holds it up and he just...
Yeah, he holds it by like the middle and sort of holds it ahead of him.
Yeah. And so like...
Well, he doesn't need a cane anyway.
No.
He doesn't walk with it like a cane ever. He just kind of walks along with it. He doesn't lean on it or anything. There's nothing, like, he doesn't have a limp or something. But he is creepy at the beginning for a while, at least, because we don't really know anything. He kind of just comes in and says weird things and kills the old lady and then knows stuff about people he shouldn't be able to, and the TV works when it's busted. So you're like, this is odd. Who is this guy? This is weird. He's kind of creepy. And the Colm Fiore guy is pretty good at like doing like creepy things with his eyes, where he just like looks at you while he says impossible things, and it works pretty well.
Oh yeah, like the way they shot a lot of that stuff, like with the really good close-ups on his face, and they'd have just the right amount of light so you can see what his eyes are supposed to be doing.
Well, I mean, I guess some of it is the director, but a lot of it is probably that that the cinematography, the director of photography was Dave Connell, who has done a bunch of stuff. Actually, he did a bunch of stuff with this director, which I didn't realize until now. But the reason we care about who he is because he was the DP for Leverage.
And Leverage is a really good show that we both enjoy. And if you haven't seen
it commonly,
we would recommend it.
We do recommend it.
It's actually something you can watch with the family. And it's good, like, in almost every regard, which is very uncommon. Elliot's my favorite character.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've mentioned Elliot and his knife tips, so.
But I do agree. I think French named wizard, not demon dude, much freakier. I won't say outright scary. Like it does kind of put you on edge.
Yeah.
But
I'm not like covering my eyes or anything.
Yeah.
But it is uneasy and creepy.
Yeah. But he does kind of lose some of that edge towards the end. I would say at the end portion of his being retained and then he's like, I'm gonna break out now. Like once that kind of happens, then all of the creepiness just kind of fades away.
Once he's a wizard.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then it's like I would be okay with this as a scene, but the ending where it's like he's not a demon, kind of, I feel like it kind of ruins a little bit of it. Where it's like, okay, he's a wizard dude, not like an actual demon, so all of it doesn't feel as impacting.
No, well, we sort of lose the Legion thing in favor of the Roanoke like mystery, which I guess makes it sort of like it ties it to like a more recent like actual like mysterious thing that happened, and so that's kind of neat. But I mean, we still, I guess I said we don't really want to know what he is, and we still don't. But we know more what he is than if it's just like, well, is he the demons from the Bible, or is he this or that? The blocks thing was kind of odd because up until then, anytime somebody was like, "What is that?" it was because he had made something look like something.
And this time
And so,
he had nothing to do
no,
with it.
it just happened to be blocks laying there, just the right blocks. Now the storm is a snowstorm, or a blizzard, I guess. But they're on an island off of Maine, because of course Maine, because Stephen King. And it's actually the same island that the novel Dolores Claiborne takes place on, which was kind of neat that somebody in the town mentions what happened with Dolores a while back. So he does anchor it to, yes, it is the same place, and things actually did happen here before. We're just reusing the same name of this made-up island, which actually it is a made-up island. There's no such place as Little Tall Island, despite what the Wikipedia article will say under the production locations section, where it says Little Tall Island, Maine, which is not a real place. And they did shoot some stuff in Maine, but I don't remember the name of the town, but not there, because there is no there.
Yeah.
And it was most of the outside, especially once the storm hits, is actually inside. It's in an old beet sugar factory in Canada, like just into, I think it's close to Montreal. I'm pretty sure it's Montreal. So it's like inside. Outside is inside, because they had to do all of these levels of buildup of snow and control all of this blizzard and stuff, and it was way easier to do it inside. And so the real town that they shot in, the real main town that some of it is in, they just rebuilt at least like the facing at least of those buildings in on the stage. And some of the people from the actual town came to visit it while they were shooting one time, and they walked in the stage door, and like one of them almost fainted, supposedly, because they're just like, they walked inside and there's their town just like inside a building.
They walked inside and then was outside.
Yeah, they walked inside and then they were outside, and it's like outside of their town, which they were not. I mean, not super far away from, because Maine is kind of close to Canada, but not. They weren't in their town. And some of it is also models and things too. Some of it where something really extreme has to happen, like the boats and being wrecked up against the docks.
Yeah.
So there's a good mix of different kinds of things to make it possible to do on, even though like it's a TV movie budget, it's $35 million in '99, so it's still not a tiny movie, although it's 4 hours long, I guess, on TV. It's a little over 4 hours long. I guess it would have been 6 hours long on TV because it was 3 nights. But so they didn't have like a ton of money, but they had some money, so they were able to do something. The whole structure of it is very Stephen King also, where there's creepiness interspersed by just normal stuff happening between people. And actually, except for the what the actual threat is, and most of the problems are much more smaller scale because they're not going to run out of food or anything. It's really it feels really almost like a precursor to Under the Dome, where like you have people in a town, something extreme happens, they're all trapped here, and something weird is happening at the same time, and you just have lots of town politicking and relationships and murders happening while there are other problems to deal with, and there's some suspiciousness about all of it. There's no magic about the storm.
Yeah. Well, that's something that it almost feels like the wizard dude is the cause for the storm. And
I don't know if they never say that. If that's
no, they don't.
Case.
Like it seems towards the end it feels a bit more natural, like he hasn't anything to do with it. But whenever it starts off, we have a lot of the mystery, like who is this man?
Yeah, he shows up before the storm hits.
Yeah, it's like what does this man want? Why is these things going on? Why did he kill the old lady? You know, like there's too much mystery, and you kind of want to start piecing things together, and like maybe he's the cause because we know there's like weird magic things going on.
Yeah.
But we know that this has happened before in this town, like this snowstorm. Like it's not every year, but it's happened multiple times for each person. You know, it's like every 10 years or so.
Yeah, I guess not this bad. Like they haven't had to shelter since whatever that one was in the, what was it, the 40s, or where they all, there's the picture of them all sheltering
that's from the 20s.
20s in the old
20s.
church.
But I don't know if they've had a shelter between that, because I know they brought up the 20s one.
Yeah.
Because the town manager, like they were making a quip at him because his grandfather or whatever was actually useful because he was stirring up some soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just complaining and trying to be in charge. Yeah, she gave him and the other dudes, some of the other dudes, the business too, because they're just standing there complaining, and she's like, whenever you're through with your politicking, can you do something maybe?
God, what was her name?
I
want to say it's either Sheila or damn it,
Sally?
No, Sally's the
that's the wife of the guy that got killed. Yeah, one of the guys that got killed. Sandy?
Peter, I think that's his wife.
Sandy?
No, Sandy's the one who died of the heart attack at 35, who was married to Hatchet, I think.
Hatch.
Hatch.
Which I think their last name is actually Hatcher. They just call him Hatch. Hatcher.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
But they, I was trying to. I'm not sure which person it is, and not all of these people have pictures. Something else that's the kind of interesting about the people that are in this is Tim Daly, who's the constable and the butcher. He's been in a number of different things.
$6,000 a year.
$6,000 a year. He's been in a number of things. But one of the things that he's been over quite a long period of time is the voice of Superman in various animated things and some games, including Superman 64. So this guy is the voice of Superman in Superman 64. Ursula.
How did I mess that up?
Okay, Ursula.
She's the very first one on the list that popped up.
Oh, okay.
How did I mess that up?
I don't know.
All right. So Ursula, played by Becky Ann Baker, is very feisty and is at least a likable character through almost the entire movie until the scene that we will speak about later.
Yeah. We'll have to give some talking about that part because that's significant. I did kind of wonder for a while if what he wanted and he'll go away was his cane, but that didn't really make any sense because the cane kept disappearing whenever it would show up, and so it wasn't like, well, we can't give it to you because we can't even find it. And I get actually that was something else that made it. I guess it's supposed to make it more creepy, but it actually made it less creepy. Was in the early on, he's doing things and he's making things happen, but he doesn't seem to have to really do anything for it to happen.
Yeah.
But then he's like puppeting people.
Yeah, he's very proactive.
He's doing the actual motions of what the people he's making do stuff are actually doing for real. And it's much more obvious, which they, I think, don't freak out nearly enough at what he's doing when they're watching him do it in the jail.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. What is he doing? It's really weird. And they don't seem to care, especially.
Well, I think, okay, so the first portion of jail scenes, he's just kind of sitting there. He's got his feet on the bed. He's got his arms hanging over his knees. He's really dark. He's staring.
Yeah, he's just kind of staring
and
at them.
he does control the mind of one guy. He causes him to hang himself after writing a lot of the same thing. Give me what I want and I'll leave.
I wonder if maybe it's a range thing.
I don't know.
Like if they're there in the room, he can just make them do stuff. But if they're far away, he has to be more active.
But he controls him, and he doesn't really do anything other than kind of like mumble to himself and then like really stare, and like that's creepy. But then when he starts doing this like puppeteering stuff, it's not as creepy as much as it's kind of I don't know. It's almost silly.
Yeah.
But it isn't silly because of the environment, and then you have the other people who are like, what is he doing? What is that? Why is he doing this? And it's like that kind of element where it's like these men are unsure and they're kind of panicking, so it keeps it from being silly. But if there was like those guys weren't there, I would say that scene is just silly.
Yeah, it's just
you got a dude like
puppet stuff,
just swinging his arms around, looking like a fool.
Yeah, well, and the first time is the almost death by apple juice scene, right? That's the first puppeting.
Well, see, even with that kind of makes me wonder how much he really is controlling them compared to.
Well, they seem to be able to fight it, kind of, because sometimes people seem to resist, like he's like making the slamming the can down motion, and the real person is like shaking and hesitating and can't quite do it. And so I think they have some awareness still of what they're doing and some ability to fight it, which also might be a range thing.
But then there's the cane, because there's a scene that confronts a young woman. The guy's sleeping around. The woman is supposed to be the girlfriend. She was pregnant, had an abortion. No one was supposed to know about it. That was her secret. His secret was obviously the cheating. French wizard dude was going to control the dude and smash in the woman's head with a big can of apple juice. And when we mean big can, it's like the industrial size. Yes, I said industrial size. But he doesn't do it. But it turns around and the cane shows up. She picks up the cane and then seems to bash his head in. Later on, she says that she feels like the cane made her do it. And so I'm wondering if he has more complete control if he uses the cane compared to just trying to manipulate someone.
Maybe. Because if the cane is...
Because the cane does all kinds of
part
shit.
Part of his magic, like a wand or something.
Yeah.
Because like magic wands, I think, are generally not magic by themselves. Like they have magic in them, but they sort of like focus your magic, and they make the magic more controllable and powerful. So maybe it is something like that.
Yeah. Now that kind of varies on like what fantasy realm, but it's like wands, rods, orbs, and staves, and the cane acts more like a rod. Because, like, it's, like, huge. Like, you can, like, shake a stick at something. That is the stick you're shaking.
That's even kind of creepy itself, because I guess we don't know that it's literally silver, but everyone keeps saying that the wolf's head is silver. And so then it's like, well, he has these weird teeth, but he must not be, like, a vampire or something, because he has this silver cane. Or if he is, then... like silver is off the table right away as one of the standard. How do we fight against this evil magic things? Because he has his own silver thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like because like with it being a wolf, like his mouth doesn't look so much like wolves' teeth. It kind of looks like a short-faced cat.
Yeah.
Because it's like because it has to be scrunched up to fit into a person's mouth, but it's like I never really associated like, oh, it's a wolf's head staff and he's supposed to have like wolf's teeth kind of thing. Like I never really.
No, he just
yeah.
has crazy evil teeth.
Yeah.
Sometimes, which is weird because he doesn't seem to when he's like the actual full-on wizard-looking wizard.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the teeth are about except to be just generally creepy every now and then when he'll show them.
It's
and
like,
then you know
and it felt like he was trying to hiss.
It's happening. He does kind of
Like,
hiss. Yeah, he makes like a sound when he does it.
Someone
He has a
spray bottle. Calm down.
He has a bunch of things like that he does where sometimes his eyes glow red when it's dark. Sometimes he has the teeth. Sometimes the cane glows or something when it does stuff.
Does the weird moving and shit.
Yeah, moving. One time it's a dog instead of a wolf.
Yeah.
Because it changes. Because kids are like, "Oh, it's a dog! I'm gonna touch the silver dog," and then they all like almost die.
All right. So on that scene,
which I know he's like influencing them or controlling them to touch it, but the
like I'm not blaming the kids for that portion of the scene. Because, like, from the story perspective, no one can see the staff except the kids. The kids are running up, touching it, and then just passing out. They've been enchanted.
Like, kind of an intense sort of image. Just this line of kids, they just walk up and they just drop. They just touch something we can't see and just drop.
Yeah.
And but just one after another.
The thing that gets me is, like, nobody does anything except just stare. So, like, once the second or third kid drops, it's like, maybe you should keep the kids from walking to that side. And then there's the spoiled kid that like slaps his mom out of the way. Then there's what's Poppy or whatever. Pippa. Like Pippa calls her mom a bitch.
Yeah.
And then just shoves her, and I'm like this child cannot be more than 50 pounds, and she just shoved you out the way. What is this?
Yeah.
I mean, you should easily be able. Well,
I mean, there could be magic going on.
Magic children.
Yeah.
Bitch slapping their moms. Slapping your mom. Slapping your moms.
Now there is just before anything super weird happens, just when they're trying to get him into the jail, and they go through the store, and then they get him in the jail, and then they're all kind of like angry, and the constable is in like shock and anger because they touched his kid, and he's like being abusive sort of unnecessarily just because he's angry.
Yeah.
But it's not like so much that, like, sometimes that happens and you're like, come on, you're a cop, stop it.
Yeah.
But even though
seriously, calm yourself.
I know police are like real people, and so it's not as easy to just be like that. And so typically in a movie you either have bad cops are bad, or you have good, like impossibly like idealistic versions of cops where they never cross the line, and they do their job, and it's not you don't really have complicated police characters very often, and it's more forgivable for him because he's not like he's only
not actually
sort of police. Like he is police, but he's kind of like an old west sheriff kind of police. He just is the townsfolk decided you'll do until somebody else is better. Why don't you deal with our problems? Because it's just sort of barely a town. It's like 300 people on an island that has a name, but the fire department is volunteer, and the constable seems to be the only law. He doesn't even seem to have deputies, except he brings Hatch along whenever he needs extra help, it seems like. But I don't think he actually is paid to do that.
Probably not.
And then they don't even have a mayor. They just have the town manager who's responsible for managing the real estate of the town. And so they're not much of a town. They're just barely a town. Although they think of themselves as being very distinctive and separate, and people from here are from here, and it's different from the people on the mainland, and we
You're
can
not
keep
special.
a secret, and it's but because they're all
Selling
sort of
lobster and pot.
yeah, that yeah, I don't really
It's the devil's kush.
I
They'll
don't
send you straight to hell.
I'm sure that it happens
Okay.
so what Born in Sin, Come On In. That's one of his rhyme things that he says all the time.
And you know what? Like that. Okay, that
I've
kind of
never
makes
heard
sense.
it before. I don't know if
you
it's from
sin,
something
you go
else.
to hell. All right. Born in lust, turned to dust. What does that port mean?
Yeah, that one is weird.
Like, what is this? Something. Say it twice. Always twice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't remember that one. He
Can
only
you quit?
uses it once.
Yo, French wizard guy, can you quit making stuff up?
Yeah. He does have all of these rhymes.
I know you've had a lot of time to come up with these. You could do better.
Now, I didn't notice this when we were actually watching it. I found this out from I didn't listen to all of it, but I listened to some of the commentary on the DVD, which some of which is Stephen King and some of which is the director, and it's kind of spaced out. Like sometimes there's long periods of time where there isn't anything, and then they talk for a while, and it kind of switches back and forth. Although there's like a good 40-minute chunk of it that it runs from the beginning, where most of the story about how it came to be and all the working with the network and all that came from. But I didn't know that the preacher guy on the TV, like towards the end, that's listing off all of the like, you're gonna go to hell and kind of get an amen and all this stuff. Like not the guy that's played by Stephen King, who's the weather punishments from God guy, but the other guy, just like he's kind of bald and he's just sort of an old fire and brimstone kind of preacher. That is Linoge. That's the same actor under like really extreme makeup, but that's the same guy as the preacher. So he gets a lot more in as the fake preacher character on TV, and which I guess he's supposed to be like, that's not a real TV show. He's making that happen with his magic in order to influence the townspeople to do what he wants. But it's the same guy, and you can't tell at all.
Well, that's the thing, is like,
he doesn't rhyme though.
It kills part of the mystery when you never get any more detail other than it's a constant repeat of, we have to give him what he wants. Like, we spend so much time with just that phrase at the end when he does say what he wants. It's like, you couldn't have told us this at the start? Like, this could have caused all of this crazy turmoil that you could have really been screwing with people. And it's just like, nah, like, I'm just going to randomly kill this one guy, and I'm going to put this here in red so people will see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but...
Well, I think that's what his deal is. I think he doesn't want to ask for what he wants until he's pretty sure that they'll cave and give it to him. And so if he spends these couple of days really terrorizing the town and killing a few people here or there and taking the children and really scaring everyone for a good long time, that they'll be much more likely to do what he wants when he makes them call the town meeting. Where if he just asked it right away, they would say, why? Why would we do that? Although maybe if he asked and then it was like almost like Moses and the Pharaoh, where he's like, do what I want or else, and they say no, and then he goes away, and then some bad ththings happen, and he comes back and says, how about now?
Yeah, because like, I was
goes
kind
away
of,
and some bad things happen.
like, I was kind of thinking something like that would have occurred, where it'd be like a progression where everybody knows the sacrifice that he wants. But if no one says anything, then it keeps getting worse and worse. But it's like, no, we're just going to do kind of things here and there that are inconvenient, and this person dies, and this
Death
person
is
gets...
pretty inconvenient.
Yeah, it is inconvenient, because then you can't make money.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, at the end, it's like, oh, I want this. And it's just like, okay, well, this is not what I expected. There's a lot of the ending which I didn't expect.
Yeah, well, that was one of the other things. That was a part that I forgot until just now and left out, that he also liked about the idea of doing an original story, was that if it's based on a book, then even though they might change some things, generally most of it tends to be the same, and so people who read the book know what's coming.
Yeah.
And so you can't really surprise them, and so if it's like made of out of whole cloth, then you get to surprise everybody with what happens at the end because nobody knows. But it's kind of a sharp turn.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so you're like Vigo, basically. You need a kid to carry on the evil, which is a little bit generic. Like we need the children, sacrifice the children. Even like the second Ghost Rider movie has this even.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's my problem with it.
I know that happened after or something, but
he's not a demon. He's a wizard
or something.
And yeah, or something. But we think he's evil because he's killing people. He could just be doing bad things to get what he wants, but who knows? Like, he could be out doing good things or whatever.
The rest of the time.
Yeah. And the issue created by this is his whole sin aspect. Like, oh, people are going to hell. Like, okay, so you're not an immortal.
No.
So you're
like
not an angel, you're not a demon,
people, but yeah,
you're not any of that stuff. But you live a long time, you do magic, weird things. But you're all about this whole being good, being evil, the sins, all of this kind of stuff. You got the weird dog teeth thing going on.
Yeah.
But why? Like, it's not like he's sending people to hell. He's just talking about, like, oh, you're guilty of this sin that you're hiding, and there's this. And it's not like you're a demon trying to drag me to hell. You're just talking shit. That's all it really kind of boiled down to. You're talking shit, and you might kill us.
Yeah. Well, you'll 1600 us if you don't get what you want.
Yeah. And it's I feel it's
I don't
unbalanced.
know if he always does bad things or if he's just willing to do bad things to get what he wants. We don't really know what his work is.
Yeah. And so it's like there's like all of this, and it's like none of that's explained, and we have this, and that's the direction you could have went, but you chose to do that, and it's like I don't approve. I don't approve. I wished he was a demon. And if he wasn't a demon, I wished he would have killed the other kids.
Just kill him anyway?
Yeah.
Like he gets the one he wants and then...
Well, because if I remember correctly, because I paid really close attention, and I'm hoping I paid close enough attention.
Uh-huh.
He talks about he'll only take one kid.
Yeah.
Like, he only wants one. He didn't say anything about not letting the others live.
No.
Like, he wanted to take one, and then he'll go away. And I kind of, like, there's no impactful meaning kind of thing in this movie at the end, except for, well, all these people have to keep a secret, and it's eating away at them. And
yeah,
so
that part, the sort of after narration is really... I think the best thing about the end is the actual meeting, because the constable arguing for the right position against the townsfolk and everybody being worried and arguing just because they're all just worn out by it and don't want anything else to happen, even though it's still wrong. Like, we know it's wrong, they know it's wrong, but they're willing to look past that it might be wrong in order to stop what's going on. But that doesn't make it less wrong. And so he's arguing for that, and his whole speech to the town meeting and everybody responding to it, I think is pretty good. And is more of the, like, people being people in between the supernatural stuff. But then once once he shows up in his wizard robe again, then it starts to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
and then all of the, like, after, like, some of them kept a secret, but some of them couldn't deal with it and they killed themselves or they went away or something, and he's a marshal in San Francisco now.
Well, what ends up happening is they have this whole big town meeting. Everyone has to be there, including the children who are in some form of enchanted coma.
Yeah.
and they have to vote on whether or not to actually give this man a child. Not they haven't decided which child. It has to be either we do or we don't. And the way that he talks, the French dude, it's very monkey paw-esque, where he only kind of gives you a little bit so you have an understanding, but if you're not really critically thinking about it, like he could easily twist it on you. So it's like,
he only gives
you
one step forward. He doesn't give you the next one after that, and so
like he could lie. Because if he was like all this bad and everything, he could just lie, and he takes the child, and then he just kills everybody else anyways. It doesn't matter. He can do it.
Yeah, we don't know that he's not going to.
Yeah, like we don't know that he won't let everybody live. We don't know if we give him what he wants, we don't know what he'll do afterwards. We only know that he said that he'll do this if we don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we have to go off of. And then there's only one guy, the constable, who disagrees with giving him a child. Even his wife is for it.
Yeah, which makes it even more difficult.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how things would pan out for other people, but it's the idea of where you have these 8 families, and you're having everyone else decide whether or not, hey, your kid could possibly be taken away from you, and you're just okay with that. Like, I don't see why he's like, no, and just pull it away from him. I would have taken a hammer to my wife's face. I don't give a fuck.
Well, he actually does say, or somebody says, it should be just the parents of the kids that vote.
He says that.
And then they say, you're not putting this on us. It's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
You're putting this on everyone else.
Well, it's like the lady whose husband isn't ever home. He's like, I've been raising my child by myself, but the town helps. Like that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. It's still your child, and you still have to make the decision. And if this person doesn't want to be part of it, you shouldn't have to force them. Like, I don't give a shit if it's like, oh, but we're islanders. Like, I don't care about that. At this point, you're saying, hey, we're willing to sacrifice your child because, like, remember, there's only 8 families, and there's still all of these other people. Like, why do all these other people even have a right to begin with? Like, it's not their children. So I can understand him saying, well, only the parents should be able to vote on whether or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all their stake, where, like, if they don't give him a child, then the whole town dies. And so it kind of, like, it's not their kid, but it's still their life is bound up in it, too. But it just is a difficult situation and a difficult question that there's not really a right answer to, because either everyone dies or this one kid goes away, or maybe he kills everyone anyway, and they don't really know. And I think that's what makes it good, is that it's just people discussing a difficult, impossible question, and like everybody has bias and wrong-headedness about parts of it, and they're right about parts of it. And he's the only one that gets to make a big speech, but he's not the only one with something to say. And even just the idea of the meeting at all is like when we come into the scene, just the town manager is sitting there at the table with his town manager plaque on it, and he's just like looking from side to side, and he has his hands together tightly, and he just like, and everybody's afraid, and nobody's really talking or anything, and they're just waiting for the time. And it has come after like bad stuff happening to some of the people, and other people seeing the other bad things, and then the dream that they had the night before, where they see them all walk off into the and the fake news report, which that's really well done too, because it comes at a point where there would have been a commercial in the actual thing, so it comes after a fade out and then a fade in. And then it's just like, oh, and it's structured as a news report, which we've already had in the thing before, and then the blizzard is over, but then there's these people missing, and you don't find out what's going on for several minutes, and it has a good amount of mystery to it, and it works the way that it's supposed to, where you don't know what's going on, and then you see people like start to jerk awake. Although it seems like there's more of it than we got to see, because some of them wake up and then they look over at the other people and they're still kind of rolling around and they're still asleep, but it still seems like something is happening to them. So there's, I guess some of them got even more creepiness than the part that we got,
Yeah.
and that some of the main characters got. So does that mean then that he asked Roanoke the same question and they voted no?
Well, we don't know.
So he walked him off the pier, because he admits to having been responsible for that. But
yeah.
I don't know if it's because 300 years ago or 400 years ago he needed a he was already old and dying, and was already trying to get someone to replace him. But then he's waited a long time to try again, or at least I guess there's no other suspicious mass disappearances of a small town events that they tell us have happened previously.
Well, it seems to not make so much sense because there's not enough explained. Because it's like, okay, let's say he shows up in Roanoke, he asks them, they're like, no, he kills everybody. Like, okay, well, I guess maybe he still has time, because he says that while his life is really long, in comparison, it's coming towards an end, blah, blah, blah. He's waited all of this time to do it again. We don't know why he waited all this time to do it again. He does make a comment that he can't take it, it has to be given, but why? Like, it seems to be a rule that doesn't have an explanation behind it. Like, why can't he just pick a child and then kill everybody and then just take the child? Like, why?
It is sort of like you have to invite a vampire in. They can't just come in. I don't know. All magic rules are weird and arbitrary, so I guess it's, I don't know.
Well, at least if we can get,
why.
like, a half-assed explanation, be like, okay, well, at least they tried. But this, it's just nothing.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe he didn't do maybe he needs the storm or something. Like, he needs the isolation, and just the island thing is not enough. I don't know if there was a storm when the Roanoke colony disappeared.
Yeah, because I don't remember that ever being something brought up when they were talking about it.
They do bring back the weird Croatone thing, or Croatoan, whatever the word is. That's the clue that was carved into the wood. That's the only clue to what happened at Roanoke, because then that's when one of the people dies after, like, years after. They've carved that into something or written it in blood or something. I don't remember what. And so it's really tied to that. I don't know. Is that his name? Maybe, because his name is not Andre Lenoge. He's not actually Fringe. It doesn't seem like that. Seems made up. So maybe he's not Legion. Maybe that's his name. Well, but he never tells them his name.
Yeah.
So
like they don't go that far enough in what we are given.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that so much. Like, I don't want to know everything about it. I don't want to know, because I complained about the, like, diminishment of the mystery. But
well, I think the problem is if there's stuff that doesn't have a purpose, then why does it exist?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, mysteries are kind of designed to be solved for the entertainment portion of it, but if something simply exists for no reason, then why? What's the point?
Just to be weird and creepy and unknown. Like, that's the thing that Alan Wake says. Like, there can't be an answer, and there shouldn't be. Like, that's the kind of writing that it is. It's supposedly scarier if you don't know what or why or which things are important.
But whether or not this word has any meaning isn't scary.
Well,
it's just like, oh, look, it might be a clue. It's kind of odd.
It is odd.
But, like, if somebody was to run across it, it's not like they're going to know, so it can't be scary for them. and we only have the faintest clue is because we've been told before in this movie.
Yeah, because
So
I didn't
there's-
like I knew I didn't remember the name of it, but I had some vague awareness that there was a colony in the 1600s that everybody just disappeared from, and nobody knows why or how or where they went.
You know, if you
But I
wanted, if you
didn't
wanted a
remember the-
mystery, he shouldn't have said what he wanted the kid for.
Yeah, it's just like, I want a kid. Well, why? Well, never mind. Give me a kid or I'll kill all of you. Well, but then we don't get the dad sees him
I hate that scene. That scene is
in the
shit.
city.
You know, like he doesn't, because it's like, why? Why'd you go from all the way over here? Why'd you come to this area? What's the point? Just so you can show us, oh, he's grown up and he's like 14 now, and he's gonna give us the teeth thing, so he can, old Constable, now Marshall, can suffer some more. Because that's the thing that kills me at the end of this movie, is that there's no lesson to be learned, except, you know what, people kind of suffer anyways for the decisions they make, so we're going to kind of show you little bits and pieces of like how everybody else's lives have been ruined, except the ex-wife and Hatch, who kind of got together afterwards, so they
Yeah.
seem to be doing okay.
They
Like,
seem to be okay.
like there's no lesson learned. It's just, here, I kind of say this, and then here's some people. That, like, it's not enough.
Well, it is presented as if there is something to learn, because he says,
But what is it?
I don't know what it is,
Exactly.
but he says, I learned his whole pay as you go thing that he says in the opening.
What does that
narration, and
even
he brings back, like,
mean?
some people pay a little, some people pay a lot, maybe everything you have, but I don't know.
Like,
I don't
that
know what
doesn't
it
make
means.
any sense, especially for the context that this is going on. What is being paid? How are we able to differentiate a lot to a little, or the frequency? Like, that's not something that's actually hammered into us. It's like, it's extra dialogue that doesn't make any real sense. It's just meant to sound like
Yeah.
really deep and wisdom filled.
It sounds
and it's
sounds meaningful.
like, what?
It may not actually be meaningful, but it sounds meaningful.
Did you think about what you were writing down? Did you really?
Yeah, well, that's actually something. Sometimes Stephen King falls into that. That's more often like a Michael Crichton thing. Like, if you read
Yeah.
Michael Crichton stories, they don't do it in the movie adaptations that much, but but in his books, there's a lot of characters speechifying on like philosophy and like ideas that they have about the situation and all of this, like, and it's kind of tedious and overbearing, and people don't actually act like that in real life. And so it's a little bit of that, which he doesn't normally do, because you're supposed to learn something is not really something, like, if you happen to have written something and maybe there's meaning or metaphor or allegory or something in it, then that's fine, and he's okay with that. But when you try to hammer it into being something with meaning when it wasn't supposed to be, or when
Yeah.
it wasn't already there, then it gets like it feels crowbarred in, as it does here. So it's kind of odd, because it's something that he's written and talked about disliking, and then
And he goes and does it.
went and did it. Yeah. So
Well, I think that whenever we have that ending bit and we get all the tad bits of pieces of these people's lives,
Mhm.
I think that is fine as a form of closure for
Yeah, that's
their
fine.
stories. But it's not given to us as a closure. It's given to us as the reflection of them having been learning a said lesson that's not told to us because there isn't one. That's why I wanted the kids to die. Because that's mostly who we get, is we get the
So
families
everyone-
of the kids, and it's just like,
Everyone paid a lot.
it's like if like they all had to die except the one that was chosen, that way it's like they can experience, this is the choice that you made. Your kids died regardless, and you still gave me one.
I think it actually makes him, the constable, more special, because even if he goes about doing the things the same way that he ends up doing, where everybody lost their kids, but most of them could just keep the island secret and go about their lives, and he couldn't. He couldn't deal with it, because he was the one that stood alone against the argument for it in the first place. and so he's the only one that knew what was right, and he couldn't stop everyone else, and it happened anyway. But then he just couldn't be there anymore because he already couldn't be there anymore because it turns out that it was their kid.
Yeah.
But which it had to be. I like and dislike the picking the kid by the magic stones,
which we
thing.
see earlier, but
we do see them, and we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And then he explains to us kind of what they are, except not really. He just says these are weirding stones. They have existed for a super long time.
They were old when the Earth was young.
Yeah. Which what they remind me of is you won't understand this, but somebody might. The like ancient times backgammon equivalent game that a couple of the characters play towards the like very end of Lost. Like there's a replica of it in the series box set, and they look like that. They're just these kind of shiny but rough shaped stones, and some are white and some are black. And he kind of has an uneven set because he only has one black stone. I don't know if maybe there's supposed to be some kind of metaphor in that where it's like some of the stones are good, most of the stones are good, but one of them's not, or one of the stones is different or something. I don't know if there's anything there or not. But the thing I don't like about the scene, even though I like that and I like we're gonna make you decide to sacrifice a kid, but we're not gonna make you pick which one.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna do it either. We're gonna leave it to chance, supposedly. The problem with it is that that's the way that you write a suspense scene. The last one is always the black one, picked, yeah. And so it would have been more of a surprise if it happened like in the middle, and it's like someone has the black one and there's still like 4 people left to open their hand, instead of going down the line with every single person. Which also none of them give him his stone back.
No.
Like some of them just like drop them in shock. Some of them just close their hand and run off back to their seat. And it's like, give the guy his stones back. Like they're ancient magic stones.
He's probably gonna fucking magic your face in.
I mean, he's probably just gonna like magic them back into the bag or something anyway. But they just take his stones, and he doesn't say anything, and they don't even seem to realize.
But that's like that scene just really kind of kills me. It does.
But what the like the end with the kid, or yeah, it's kind of unnecessary. I don't know how he knew that it was the kid.
Yeah.
Because he says the kid, like he sort of looks up and realizes and says the kid's name.
Well, I know they're trying to do like
their back is turned. And...
Yeah, well, he's got like the birthmark thing on his nose.
Oh.
But
yeah.
By time that he turns to see him, like there's no way he could have seen his face.
No.
Like the way that it was shot.
He doesn't turn until after he knows.
Yeah.
Like or he thinks he knows.
It'd be different if they were walking down and he looks up and he sees him in the face and then he ponders. But at that point, it's like they already walked past and then he looks up and then he's like, huh? And then he's like, Ralphie. And then they turn, he does the T thing at him. Like, why does he do that? Like, does he remember this was his dad? I
guess. I mean, he still looks the same. The kid doesn't because it's been several years.
Yeah.
And so it's not like he heard his voice. We don't hear his voice anyway. He doesn't say anything. But even if he did hear his voice, the age difference is so much it wouldn't sound like the same voice, so he wouldn't recognize it that way. Maybe we're supposed to believe that he knows, like, he can just, like, sense that it's his kid because it's his kid, and like parenting is magic or something. I don't know. That's what it seems like anyway, because he has no way to know, and yet he does.
Parenting was obviously not magic enough through, like, the rest of the movie.
No. So first, how do you feel about stars?
I'm giving this a 2 because the ending pissed me off.
Oh.
If he needed to be a demon, I would have given it 3. If the kids would have died, I would have given it a 3. But neither one of those things was real. A lot of the stuff was wasted. All it did was make me angry. It's a 2.
Well, I think we're actually going to disagree this time. Because
What you always wanted.
I mean, just what I always wanted. Uh, I think that it does have some issues. I think maybe it is a little bit long, but I'm kind of used to the like middle part where not very much happens in Stephen King stories anyway, just from reading the books. And books in general, often, because this is not, we cut out everything, even things that should have been there in order to make a movie out of. And so it ends up being just the key things. It was like written for this purpose, and his whole novel for television idea. Like, it does feel very much book-like in structure more than just some standard TV thing or a regular movie does. And so I'm okay with that kind of draggy kind of parts. And it's not a lot. And the ending is kind of bogus, and the crowbarring in of meaning that I don't know what it means is a problem. But I think a lot of it I think is pretty effective, and so I'm gonna give it a 3. So I like it more than you, but it's still not super great. So what about scariness?
Okay. I kind of want to break it up because I want to give it like a 3 for the beginning of it, and then it's like a 1 at the end. Because it starts off, I don't like.
Yeah, it's much creepier at the beginning.
It's like oh, like this dude, man, this is gonna be some freaky shit, yeah. And then it's just like, nah, it's just bright white lights, creepy old wizard man. All right, I'm done. Okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So at maximum creepiness, it's a 3.
Yeah.
But then.
But average creepiness is 1.
Okay. It's a new rating, and we're already screwing with it. Like, we're already cheating. So, or you're already cheating. I know on one of the other ones of these, I said if I could give it a half, then I was like, so I know I'm guilty of it too. Yeah, I think I'm not gonna cheat. I'll just like give it for maximum creepiness, because nothing is consistently the same amount of scary, even in a really scary movie. I don't think. But I think 3 is about right for maximum scariness.
My issue is, I can understand there having been a maximum, and I know it can't be scary the whole way, but when it loses all of the scary just as a hard drop, like that's when it's just like, well, I can't watch this again and feel the same creepiness the first time.
Because you know it's going to go away.
Yeah, because I know it's just going to be a complete nothing. Like, all right, I'm going to talk about this now, because I've been wanting to talk about it.
Okay.
We might do this next year, or sometime later. Whatever. Peter Benchley's Creature.
Yes.
Is a movie made for TV that's like 4 hours long that I do enjoy. And it is creepy. Mm-hmm. Like, I would give it a good solid 5 for like the whole thing, because they know how to handle it and keep it going. You have the monster, and then you have like the suspense because it's right there and it's a constant, and you don't know how they're gonna get rid of it because they try, and all this other stuff happens.
It's not 5, you mean? Because it's out of 10. Creepiness is out of 10, or scariness is out of 10.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's a good solid 5.
Oh, so okay, so yeah, it's midway scary the whole time.
Yeah, like the whole time, because there's stuff that like doesn't even pay off, but it's like it still makes you think something's going to happen. So during the entire movie, you don't know when to actually relax.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that I would say is a good indicator of giving something a much higher score overall. But like this, it happened a little bit, and it's like, ooh, okay, and then never again. Because I know I've watched like Peter Benchley's Creature like 6 times.
I've only seen it once. We watched it back in college, but I haven't seen it, and I can never remember the name. So, yeah. But I remember enjoying it, and I remember it being creepy, but I don't remember enough detail to say.
But even though I've watched it like those 6 times, every single time, like it's the same feeling regardless. And so like that's how I'm gonna have to score this kind of stuff. It's like how well is it? How well will it stick?
say about Stephen King's Star of the Century. We'll see you next time.
Later.